Hey all, it's Adam from Metro Hobbies here, continuing our Getting Into Gunpla series with our next stage, panel lining. So you've bought the kit that you really wanted on the shelf, you put it together, it looks pretty good, but it is missing a bit of detail, it's just not standing out and popping as much as you would like. That's where panel lining comes in. As you can see, I have two little daggers here. One is panel lined, the other isn't. You'll be able to tell because one has a bit more depth on the lines, a bit more shading, and the other is just sort of put together straight out of the box. So how do you get that effect? Well, stay tuned and find out. Let's get to it. So how do we panel line? Well, let's start off with our first option, the humble Gundam marker. Now these have been around for quite a while. I've used plenty of these in my career making Gundam, and they have a very fine tip, good for getting into all the little crevices. So let's see that one in action, shall we? So you've looked through your manual, guys, and you can't really find anything to do with panel lining where you should actually start. That's because you won't find it in manuals. This is sort of a thing of more intuition. Where would be the best place to start? For my sort of personal preference, be somewhere around this area here on the butt flap back here, maybe these sort of areas on the shoulders right there. So let's get started. We are using the basic Gundam marker here in the grey. Now, the fine point markers come in three different styles. You've got the grey, the black, and the brown, and I will show you the best places and colours to use those against for a bit more distinction. We'll start off with the grey. Best to use this with your lighter sort of colours. Works really well on the white and this sort of off-white. So we're going to just go in there like that, straight down, straight back up, straight down like that. Just add a little bit more there. And that there, as you can see, sort of just brings out that sort of distinction. You can actually see that there's a bit more detail there. That's just one part of many, so let's move on to another example. Where else can we go? Let's go up to, actually let's go down here, this little area down here. Get our pen again, place it in there, just sort of give it a nice little ring around in there. Again, a bit more depth, adds that extra bit of flair to your kits. Next we'll pop up here, you've got your fine little details there, just on the top of the hand. So we'll get the pen, a little bit in there like that, a little bit in there like that. If you've got a little bit of excess, wipe it away with your finger. That is, of course, for a little bit of excess, but we'll get more into that later. So, that's a good example of how to use the grey. If we're going to move on to the darker colours, grey is not going to be showing up as well. So this is where we want to move on to the black. Always try to use your darker sort of, on your darker areas is where you want to go with the black. So for example, let's go with the gun here, this dark grey. Won't have as much distinction with the basic grey, but with this black, it will pop a lot more. Let's just draw that in there like that. Straight down, you just want to follow your grooves, nice and easy. You don't want to go too many times. Again, a little bit extra there. Rub that off. And that's not looking too bad right there. Okay, so that's your grey and black, but black contrasts a little bit harshly against something like a red or a yellow, and grey doesn't do much better. So this is where we get our brown here. Brown goes really well on red and yellow. So for an example in here, in the pilot hatch here, we're just going to get this brown, go nice and gently up top, nice and gently down below, and maybe just a bit on the sides there. Into little crevices, you just want to sort of layer it in there like that, just like that. It's a fine thing, but it does make all the difference. Another fine little detail will be up here on the head, right in there, just like that. Again, wipe off a little bit of excess we have there. Fantastic. And that's how you use your basic fine point markers. So you've used the basic Gundam markers and you find them great, but occasionally just a bit too thick for the fine detail work that you need to fill in, small crevices and the like. From there you can move on to real touch markers. Now these are not just straight drawn, these are actually ink ejections. So when you press these down, they'll squirt ink straight into the crevice that you're trying to panel line. So let's see that one in action. All right guys, so let's see an example of the best way to use your real touch marker there. Now I'm going to start off with the little crevice around here, this almost Haro looking face there. I never really noticed that until there, and now I'll never unsee that. So essentially what you want to do with these markers is you want to sort of hold them in a more upright position if you can. And you want to just press down lightly, and this is going to eject the ink straight down these crevices. So if you want to get a sort of intersection point like here where you've got this sort of T intersection, just want to press in the corner there. And as you can see, that just runs straight in those crevices fantastically. You only really need to do one touch. Occasionally you might want to do a bit more, or you can hold the pen down lightly if you want to eject a bit more ink. So let's go for another example just up here. Press that in lightly like that. As you can see, it's just running straight down the crevices. Fantastic little marker. I might also just show you an example down here on the flap down here. So we're just going to press that in, give it a bit more. And that just rolls straight round like that. Fantastic way to go about it. Saves you a lot of time, and it does come out with some much more fine details that the fine point markers have a bit of trouble replicating. And we do also have that in the black. Now what I like to do with the black one is, as you can see down in these vents, that is a lot of little detail in there that can very easily be overwhelmed with the fine point markers. So what I like to do is I like to just get that, just press it lightly in, and that will fill all those little vents in like that. So if we see a comparison between that and the other vent, makes a lot of difference there. Fantastic way to really add in that extra last bit of detail that would honestly normally go overlooked. So you finish your panel lining and it's looking all pretty nice and nifty. Just one or two bits that just don't quite sit right with you. How do we fix those up? Well, from there, you go on to your eraser marker. Now this ejects a liquid that erases all the panel lines that you have done. You can manipulate it, fix it up, and it works on both the Real Touch and the basic Gundam markers. So let's see it in action. So as you can see guys, got that little bit of a mistake there. That's dried up, going to be a little bit difficult to get that off with fingers. So going to use the eraser marker. So what I like to do is just place a bit, draw a bit on there like that, away from the actual area. And if you get the old simple cotton bud, wipe that into it. That'll get the excess on that area, and then you can just sort of wipe over the top like that. And straightforward as anything, just erases it. And we will show you another example. So again, pop a little bit more down on there like that. As you can see, we've got the erasing liquid. Again, get it on the cotton bud, and we're just going to get this little part up here and just gently go over the top. You don't need to press too hard, otherwise you'll start erasing the lines you've already done. Just over the top like that. That makes it look nice and sharp and good. Very simple way to clean up any excess mistakes, parts you may have missed that have now dried. Very straightforward and easy to do, and it does stop them looking a bit grotty, a bit messy. Really tightens up your work there. So that covers all the pen type panel liners, but what if you're after something a bit more traditional, or you're not too comfortable using the pens? Well, there is an alternative in Tamiya's panel liner. This is a very old type of panel liner, been around for quite a few years, as Max would tell you. And it is a brush application, as you can see right there. Very good for getting into all those nooks and crannies. Now, the eraser marker won't work in terms of erasing this, but there is the alternative of X20 enamel thinner. Great for cleaning up any excess panel lines that you're not too happy with. So let's see these in action. All right, so here we go with the Tamiya panel liner. So we just wipe off a little bit of excess. I'm just going to press that down lightly there, and it's just going to fill in that area. This is just the basic grey. They also do it in a light grey, dark grey, black, brown, dark brown, light brown. They do a lot of different variations, more than I can show in one video. So there we are, that's just sinking in there nicely. What you want to do is let that dry. And what we'll do is we'll pop down to this side as well. See if we can get a bit more messy down here. Let in there like that. And just a little bit more for good measure. Something to clean up after. There we go. So, because this is enamel based rather than acrylic like the other ones, once this dries, as I said, the other marker won't work. So what we're going to do, push that out of the way, going to reach over and get our X20 and take the cap off that. And you just want to dip a bit of, your, because this doesn't come with a brush in it, you're just going to get the lid off that and you're going to dip cotton bud straight down in there like that. Just get a little bit on the end. So you can see that's nice and damp. And just wipe that over the top. Get away any excess. Again down here, over the top. Getting rid of any excess. You don't want to use too much because it'll start to pull the liquid out of the actual line you've already done, and then you've just gone and completely reset yourself back to the start. So that's looking pretty good like that. Fantastic. And that is the panel liner Tamiya in action. So as you can see guys, panel lining can make all the difference. Really good way to bring out that extra bit of detail in your kits. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop a comment down below. Like, share, favorite, subscribe, all that good stuff. Take it easy and we will catch you next time.